Yeah.
So the thing that these do, this is for like obviously if you're at the mid-level and beyond, it really helps the people because we go through talking together, really
Right.
kind of engaging together. I'm actually gonna sit down, I think, a little bit. I've been standing all day.
Well, you
Like,
need
oh,
to.
I can lower my desk now. But it's because sometimes you have real life questions. And while the program, you can look at the items that I put out there, the videos and whatnot, it's good. I think it's nice to have the actual
Yeah.
personal
I,
touch.
I
Okay.
think it's good to kind of bounce things off and get, maybe there's a product or, food, whatever out there and you may know something about it or,
Exactly. And that's what we talked about, like even today, we
yes.
we talked a lot about the GMOs, and we've done some other videos on it. Last week was so good I didn't record it. I should have.
Right.
Um, don't mind my laundry pile right there. I'm
Oh,
folding laundry.
you're good. I think we're all in that every once in a while. So you're good.
Absolutely. And like I said, hi Yesenia. So I did, like I said, put this morning's on there, Yesenia
Mhm.
and Kimberly. And so if you guys want to see that, go ahead. Well,
I I got about 20 minutes into it and watched that. I love those drinks you drank that one video I was watching of you and you did it and I'm trying to get off of soft drinks and the
yep, this is
sugar, the Nix.
Nixie, yep. And
Yes.
it's organic.
Yes. It reminds me of the Sprite, the lime ginger, I think it is. And so it's really helping me to get off of it. So,
Good. And just drinking hot tea, like a turmeric tea,
yes.
something flavorful, taking fresh herbs, like I talked this morning about with everybody, getting some lemon balm, putting it in hot water or even mint. Yes, Ania, do you have an herb garden in your at your farm? So if you take those herbs, put it in hot water, take a wooden spoon and crush it in there and
Right.
then let it steep and then put it in your fridge. Like Jim says, so my husband now, oh, good news. So and tell me your praise reports too, guys. But so Jim has been on this since last 2 Sundays ago. So it's well, Sunday was day 15. So
Okay.
16. So today is day 17. He's down 21 pounds. He's been going down about a pound a day now. He lost like 12 pounds the first week and then about a pound a day. My daughter-in-law yesterday was down 9 pounds just in 6 days. And then since Sabbath on Saturday, we had a discussion with our local fellowship, and one of our local people is down 4 pounds since
Okay.
Saturday. And she just is postpartum and she's been having a hard time getting that little mama belly off. And
Right.
so that's what I really and Yesenia was with us last week. That was a really good one where we went through where are the hidden sugars, what do we need to do? And
Right.
so, and Deborah, since this is like your first time kind of joining us, the one thing to remember is this is you can't out live a bad diet. And so your number one focus should be, first of all, on cleaning up your food. Going
Yes.
through your pantry, if there's anything with added sugars,
Right.
clean it out. The more processed it is, the more pollution it brings
Right.
into your body and your family. So get rid of those things. Try to get rid of the as much white bread as you can. Try to, if you do bread fermented, if you can, for a night in the fridge. Anything to help the enzymatic actions to just
Okay.
get better for your body. Um, and so the
Wh-
processed food
What
is,
about sourdough bread?
it depends. I mean, most sourdough bread is fairly good because if it's just an actual sourdough,
Right.
they don't add usually any sugar. Sometimes they add honey, but not always. And
Okay.
honey, local honey or organic honey is actually
So
better.
read the directions on, I'll read the ingredients on that as well.
Well, it's all going to be right. It's still going to be treated by your body as a sugar, but some of them are healthy and some are not. So carbohydrates are necessary. If you don't have carbohydrates, you will run out of energy. So you have to have, this is where we talk, oh, here comes Cass. This is where we talk about the macros.
Okay.
Macros actually help you to make sure you're balancing your protein needs
Okay.
with your fat, with your carbohydrates. Because if you only have protein and fat, your body is going to start eating itself. You're actually going to make poisonous chemicals in your body. If you do ketose, if you eat too
Mm.
low carbohydrates and you do the ketosis or the keto diet for too
Yeah.
long, like
Yeah.
more than like a couple weeks, you actually will begin to put poison in your body. And so this is where my husband can't go more than 4 weeks doing this low carb because if you do, you physically begin to ruin your body. And
Okay.
so you put poison. It's actually like what ga poisonous gases. And so if you have a proper balance, what most body structures want is 30% protein, 30% fat, 40% carbohydrates, but every person is different depending on your bone structure. My bone structure needs 30% protein, 20% fat. I go 50% carbs, but it's complex carbs. It's not processed carbs. And so with everybody, what we want to do, we want to make sure that everybody's needs are met for their body type. Everybody is so different. And so
Right.
for some people, like my husband right now, he's doing this reduction to get down to 195. He was at 227, which was his highest he's ever been. And so he's now getting down. He's at 206 this morning, I believe it was.
Okay.
And so he needs to get down to hi Danielle. Here, I'm just gonna mute everybody just so we don't get the reverb in the thing. So he's going from he went from 227. He's trying to get down to 195. Again, that's his desired goal because that's where his body should be at with his height, 6'3" frame. And like I said, you can't outsmart, outrun, out anything a bad diet. If you have a carb load, any carb in your body is going to react as a sugar, but white refined starches, sugar, those types of carbs are much worse. So when we look at what we talked about this morning was a lot of these types of things, how to start your day with protein. So when you wake up in the morning, one of our friends, she's like, I exercise all day. I'm to the gym. I go like swimming sometimes for an hour or so. And she's like, I'm not losing weight, but she eats one meal a day. I said, oh, there's your problem. As soon as you start eating 3 to 5 meals a day, smaller meals, you're going to lose weight. If you starve your body, you will always get fatter. If you restrict your calories less than 1,500 calories a day, you're always, always, always going to, at some point, your body's going to have an metabolic adaptation where all of a sudden you start holding on fat around your midriff. And so people who restrict their calories, who really keep their consumption low, actually start getting fatter and heavier. And eventually as a woman, that puts itself all around your midsection. And so for a woman, you need to be eating, I eat about 7 meals a day. You want to be eating lots of meals throughout the day. I encourage people in the morning, and if you have questions, just raise your hand and then we'll get to it. In the morning, you need to start with protein. So you should first of all start, let the first song that I sing be praises to my King. So we get up, we worship Yah, we read with Yah, we praise. An hour, okay, and you can eat while you're doing that. That's okay to like have like some protein, but don't start off with oatmeal. You're setting yourself up for glycemic failure if you do. Don't start off with a whole bunch of bread. Don't start off with the carbs. You want to start your day off with what? Protein. So eggs, Greek yogurt, whatever you can do, you can throw in fruit to that, but hold off on the carbs till at least lunchtime. And so what Cass? We don't read your sign language, your lips.
So I have been trying to do what you've been telling me to reduce the carbs, increase the protein, right? And today because you told me I shouldn't be eating a big dinner. So I was like, okay, well then I'll move my dinners to my breakfasts. But I made marry me chicken with pasta, and I ate it for breakfast and I knocked out. I was so tired.
Exactly. You don't want okay, so my point is transition your calorie load. Let's do a different language that makes more sense. Let's transition your calorie load up front. Okay. Let's do, even if you can't do one, like I eat at right away in the morning and then again at 10:30 usually. Almost consistently, I have 2 breakfasts. Well, maybe breakfast and snack. If you can in the morning, I know you hate eggs, but if you can eat your chicken in the morning, eat your cheese, chicken with cheese or cream cheese. Like go ahead.
I've been eating, so the past 2 days prior to today, I've been eating like a cup, not a cup, like maybe half a cup of Greek yogurt with a little bit of honey, and then the Amy Lou Amli sausage, the chicken sausage.
That's exactly
and
perfect.
that's it.
Yeah, and the honey is a little bit of carbs. At the same point, it's your honey. Like I have honey in this right now. It's local raw honey. Hi guys. Hi Josie and Janine. Hi Nicole. Hello everybody. Okay, so I think I've said hi to everybody. The honey is, as long as you keep it less than a teaspoon, that's fine. You just need the plain Greek yogurt, the almond sausage, and just I'm right with Cass. It might be like 6 tablespoons of honey. We're gonna cut that back. So we're gonna do just a little bit of honey And if you can, then get it down to where you put fruit instead of honey, whole fruit. Even frozen fruit's kind of hard to eat that way unless you blend it up, but you can, and you actually get those berries from Costco, throw in the berries. Berries have a little a bit of a lower glycemic index. So, so whatever, if that works for you. And then your next meal, because for you it's hard to eat anyway, what I want you to do, Cass, and anybody else who's sedentary, you need to set your timer at the 50-minute mark of every hour or at the 10-minute mark of every hour. You need to decide what works for you, and you are going to get up and walk. And so even if it's, yes, you are. And so even if it's like walking.
I've been doing 10,000 steps every day, calculating.
Now we're going to get you to 20,000, but here's what you do. Like this, see how I'm in my chair? Look, remember I made you feel my stomach the other day? I'm at the front of my chair. I'm leaning back. It's rock hard, huh? It's rock hard. You just are like, you want your stomach contracted rock hard. I don't mean like I'm rock hard. I mean, you make your stomach rock hard when you're doing this. You don't just sit there and go into it. You solidify yourself. And this is, thank God it's all women on here. You pull in from your pelvic floor. So you're pulling up like you're holding your bladder. You're pulling in everything. So you pull your spine towards your belly button, pull your belly button towards your spine, and that area up. So you're just like your pelvic floor up. So everything is as tight as you get. Think of being really uptight. And but you just really want to do that. If you can't stand up and walk, you sit in the chair. But if you can, you get up and walk, even if you just set that timer. And if you can't do it in an hour and you're doing better, if you have a different schedule, maybe it's every 2.5 hours. Okay, Danielle, come on, we're going around the lake. Boom. You go around the lake. On days like today, like I was on my treadmill checking messages, and then I stood up this morning for our Zoom meeting. And you do what you got to do. Have a jump rope on hand. I would like to see that, Cass. Do your jump ropes. It's so cute watching people jump rope. I laugh at myself. But the point is, do whatever it can to do what you can to set yourself up for success. Your first attack, though, is just food, cutting sugars, and getting your steps in. And so then
I haven't eaten dessert. I haven't actually eaten any sugars other than the honey and my reduced size iced coffee. I went down in size, smaller cup. No desserts, no snacks of like sugar sweets.
Have you weighed yourself since Sabbath, since you started doing this?
I've lost 1 pound, but I'm okay with losing slower.
Oh.
I don't want to lose real fast.
No, you can lose 2 pounds a week and still be success, because what you're doing also is going to be increasing muscle. And if anybody wants a really good burner, I'm still barely able to sit on the toilet today after yesterday's exercise thing I did. My legs, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what it feels like to be an old person trying to pull, because I'm using the handlebar, the towel bar to pull myself up. I'm like, okay, this is what having the herniated disc put me into. I'm like, but that workout yesterday, I designed it to be intense. After I started doing it, I'm like, ooh, this isn't for beginners, but it's 3rd week. They can do it if they want. They're going to feel a burn. They can reduce it to 1 rep instead of 3. I did all 3 reps except for the one with my back, because the one I couldn't do with my spine. That exercise thing will help you start burning fat. And then, Cass, with your muscular frame, you may actually gain poundage while losing inches. It is much more important to see how your clothes fits on you, because I'm obviously very, very muscular. Joking. I'm like a string bean. So I have you know what I mean? I'm not going to look muscular, even if I'm super strong and muscular. I'm going to look not like anything. But Cass may actually get muscle definition, right? Morgan gets muscle definition on her legs and stuff. And so I don't know your others, but I think Sanine does too. She's muscular. And so your weight may be higher. Like, this is the heaviest I've ever been. I'm 115 right now. This is I one time had a little bit heavier. Well, I was pregnant once, so I was up to 137 once. And then one time I had, with my store, with my cortisol levels, I got up to about 120, 124 sometimes. And that was a heavy attack, but I still didn't look heavy. But right now, I've purposely gained weight with muscle because I kept breaking bones. Now, granted, I know it was spiritual for science for people, but I still was tired of breaking bones. So I bulked up this year as much as I could. This is what I can get bulked up to. Yeah, but that's what I tried. So my point is, everybody's so different. Please do not compare yourself to me. I'm an anomaly. At my weight in high school, I was 102 pounds, 5'8". My dad was 155 pounds, 6'4". Please don't think you can do that healthily. I don't, you know what I mean? That's not everybody's bone structure. And so like my mother at 150 pounds looked emaciated. My mother, right? Same height, same everything. Some of y'all will look like skeletons. You need to go by your bone structure, not weight. A number can't tell you what you should weigh. I am told by the books to weigh 145 pounds. I look like that's more than when I was pregnant. I'm like, what are you talking about? I had a whole baby in me and was, you know what I mean? Like, and I didn't do that. So the thing is you can't go off a number. However, the scale does give you results if you already know your set point. Also give yourself grace. There is no way in your 30s and 40s and now 50s that you can or should weigh what you weighed in your teens and 20s. Your body is going to change in that natural process. You can't go back to high school weight. Like look at a guy from high school to now. They look like these little like me's, right? And then all of a sudden they grow into a man. Well, don't go back to that. You can't look at weight, look at body type. So again, coming back to it, every morning, make sure to have a focus of no carbs. Like my daughter-in-law, Catherine, she did such a good job. She was down 9 pounds yesterday. I didn't ask her today, but she was eating. She was asking me, can I have almond flour? So we were going, I know she's still committed to it. But she had potatoes Sunday morning and it threw her blood sugar off because she's so used to starting with protein. So like Cass, like you had the pasta. Once your body starts detoxing, Yahweh literally helps it to say no, and it'll reject the foods that make you sick. Okay, you're going to start feeling rejection. Don't ever feed your children bread and starch in the morning and oats. What we, 3 eggs, sausage, meat, protein, yogurt, whatever is the cheapest form for you that's affordable. I get that, but bread is the worst thing you can do. Oats are the worst thing. But later in the day, when you've already got your metabolism going, you've already got everything up and going, now let's put our carbs. Like at Catherine, I tell her, don't eat her carbs till 10:30. I'm like, if you want to have a carb, let's do this, but you got to start off with protein. Also, don't do just 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day. Some of you have been doing. In fact, yeah, and so many people that I know that switched doing that. Jim used to do that, and then he would start eating again and lose weight. He would like just eat some Reese's for a snack and then eat dinner. Of course, he was blimping out, not blimping for him, but you know what I mean, blimping a little bit. And so then he'd come back and we would start eating healthy. And once he started eating, he could eat bigger, fuller meals and lose weight. But the minute you restrict your calories, your body does what's called a metabolic adaptation, where it is saying, oh, I have energy that's being expected of me, but because there's none supplied to me, I'm immediately going to shut it down and go into slow down this metabolism. So you will set your body up and other people's bodies up. You're supposed to eat within like 1 to 2 hours of waking up. If you don't eat within the first 2 hours, you have slowed your metabolism by 40% for the day. 40%. That's a huge amount of rate difference, okay? I'm not saying you're going to get fat. I'm just saying you could be a lot healthier if you get up and while you're reading your Bible or praying, maybe throw some protein your way. Now, if you want to do intermittent fasting, here's your site. You want to hit the 16 to 17 hour mark, and then do not do what the not so smart people do, and then they just eat whatever they want for the window of time. That only works for a brief period of time, and then again, your body starts to resist that. And so if you want to fast, because your cells begin reformulating and growing and healing at 16 hours. So if, let's say, you want to do a 17-hour fast, I always say go into the 17th hour. If you want to do that, fine. During that time, drink like a cup of coffee, hot tea, no honey. That's fine. But as soon as you come out of it, don't you dare hit it with carbs. You hit it with protein because you need, and fat. So let's say you want 2 eggs and half an avocado. Perfect. That balance is great. High fat is not bad. Like the other day, my breakfast was a half an avocado and then a can of tuna fish. Like that's what I had on hand because I got called out of the house. I did great. But people were taught wrong in the 1950s and 60s because of cereal farmers in America who paid the government to promote their products. It is not healthy to start your day with grains. Other cultures don't start their day with grains. You start your day with protein. You start it with milk or yogurt or cheese or sanin. Oh my gosh, if you love Indian food, paneer. Make yourself some paneer. Just make some cottage cheese. Eat cottage cheese mixed with fruit. I mean, that's so good as well. You can have the high fat protein source But the carbs immediately, they increase your ghrelin levels, they increase your everything for your diet, your insulin, everything in your body is offset for the entire day. Go ahead, Danielle.
Can you tell me what paneer is?
Cheese. It's so good. It's an Indian cheese I used to make it sometimes at my store. So you have to make it, it's really good. I think you use like lemon juice and you heat the cheese, kind of like you make a mozzarella soft cheese. You heat it, you throw that in, put your herbs if you want them, and then you kind of let it sit there and strain out. And so if you can remember to cut your sugars out, but sugars includes breads. So you have to get that down to 200 grams a day or less. Children can obviously have a little bit more, no, of carbs total. So if you're on the, let's say you're aiming for a 2,000 calorie diet. Here's your goal. Here's your goals. 150 grams of protein a day, 64 to 67 grams of fat a day, and 200 grams carbs. So those numbers again, you can do 150 grams protein approximately. This is all approximate. This is for a 2,000 calorie diet. 150 grams protein approximately 60, I'm going to say 65 to 70 grams of fat, and then 200 grams carbs. Now, make sure your fats are not oils other than olive oil. Coconut oil is not a good fat. Coconut oil, that was again a gimmick by an industry that did a campaign to promote healthy things. There's no, the number one food they've found that like puts the most clogs in your arteries is coconut oil. Like coconut is one of the worst cholesterol foods. It's a bad cholesterol. Eggs are a good cholesterol. And so there's all these things. If you pay the right company to say, they'll teach you a lie. You pay the companies, you pay the ads, and they get their stuff out there. And people were saying, oh, look at coconut oil. It's the miracle food. It's an antibiotic. It's an anti-inflammatory. Bull crap. It has such high bad cholesterol. I very rarely use coconut stuff. Pure coconut's actually good. Like the flakes and stuff in moderation. But again, even like nuts, a lot of people who eat nuts, you've been lied to if you think that's high protein. That's very low protein and a poor quality protein because there's so much fat. So nuts are good like a quarter cup a day, no more than a quarter to a half cup a day. If you eat more than a half cup a day of nuts, your body you're out of whack with that. It's too much yucky in it. So nuts are good, but you have to make sure they're healthy and in moderation. So make a salad, make a spinach salad with some whatever you want on it, strawberries or feta cheese, and put some walnuts on it. But then that's your nuts for the day. You don't want to eat 2 avocados a day. You're going to look like an avocado. Like, don't let people lie to you. You can eat too much good fat. So half an avocado a day is probably enough of that good saturated fat. Olive oil, a little bit. Butter is fantastic actually for you, especially if it's grass-fed and finished. And eggs. And there's so much natural fat in the food you're eating. If you eat healthy, you should just get that by natural definition. So now, Nicole, did you have a question earlier? I can't remember if you asked one on the chat, and I can't remember right now. If there was a question, I was going to answer it when you were here. I can't remember if you said something or...
Actually, the intermittent fasting, I like to work out before I do anything. So I usually work out around 5 a.m. And then I find I was doing intermittent fasting where I was waiting and eating breakfast later, but the last week I've switched and eat right after working out. And then I've been having my last meal at like 4:30 or 5. And
Perfect.
that seems to be working really well. And so that answered a question because I feel if I do it the other way, like I'm really craving a little coffee and I like a little honey, and then that breaks the fast anyway. So I think that works out a little bit better. And I've noticed since packing a lunch and doing more of the Greek yogurt and the cottage cheese, my cravings are gone. I feel full. I haven't dropped much on the scale, but my clothes feel great and my energy level is great. So I'm one of those people that gains muscle, like my legs are solid muscle. So I'm hoping that that's what it is. And I'm just going to keep paying attention to macros and how I'm feeling.
Exactly. And when you follow this diet, like that's the biggest thing. I don't know. This morning, like Cindy, we talked about, my husband says he no longer has an appetite. He goes, it's so good. He goes, it broke my craving for sugar. He said, I don't have an appetite. I don't even want to eat. He goes, I literally have to force myself to eat. I said, now you know what I felt my whole life. I've never wanted to eat. I forced myself to eat. I eat to live, I don't live to eat. And that's a huge difference. I'm like, okay, time to eat. And I'm so in tune with my body that I don't count macros. I only did it for like a month once, like just for some fun. And then I have too much of a life to do to count macros. But I can totally feel if I need more protein. I can totally feel if I don't have it. But my body has been so clean for so many years that I'm not shutting it off or confusing it with too much white bread or carbs, or I'm not, you just know what you need once you learn your body. Now, that's why like those a la carte menus I've given you, they're a little bit higher carbs than what the actual, because I put out three other sample like low carb days. And you may want to do like one low carb day and then two medium low carb days and then do the a la carte menu. The a la carte menu is meant to be family friendly, but we're also focused on reducing the bad carbs, getting in the healthy ones. It's more kid friendly, and then sometimes it's just easier to sustain. It's hard you can't always do everything perfectly. Perfect is the enemy of the good. So let's make the best choices possible. And that's why the a la carte menus are so good for you, because you choose one breakfast, whichever one you want that day, you choose, and they're designed to try to focus heavily on protein. I do sometimes put a tiny bit of carbs in there, but not a lot, and they're countered by the protein. And then choose 2 snacks a day, 1 lunch and 1 dinner. And the feedback I've gotten that people love the a la carte menu. And there's a few out there because you get to kind of mix and match. So we have 2 a la carte menus out there already that you can just pick. There's 10 different breakfast ideas, 10 different lunch ideas, 20 different snack ideas, 10 different dinner ideas. And then I'll put another one out today. I've just been answering so many questions today, which is good. So, now what questions do you guys have for me? Oh, let me go through one thing for those of you who missed this morning. I think Nicole already understands this, but you need to have that macro balance again. Macros just mean the nutrients. You want to make sure your protein, your fat, and your carbs factor in. If you start tracking them, like I said, if you have 200 grams, you can have a day of carbs. You can factor in dessert once a week, but make sure you're factoring it in, and then you really start to look at things. You're like, ooh, is this piece of cheesecake worth this? And then you're like, yeah, because I'm just going to compensate with this. I tracked I can do more protein this day, more fat. But again, I'm just going to tell you, sugar is so toxic. Your body's always trying to fight it off. So if you're putting those white foods, the starches in your body, if you're eating a ton of carbs, your body literally is more inclined to getting cancer simply because this is what they say, your white blood cells are so high, always in your body trying to fight off anything foreign, which is why we try not to do sugar like that. But if you eat fruit, here's the thing, you've got the fiber to count, it all goes together. So it's not viewing it as something foreign, it's not viewing it as something a foreign invader. It hasn't been sprayed by a chemical that your body doesn't recognize. So that's why organic is so important. You can't just go, if you can, please go organic, because those pesticides, your body immediately triggers a response in your body to fight it off like cancer. Well, cancer comes because your body surrounds these things that are invasive and surrounds it and tries to fight it off. So you've got your white blood cell count so high, then your cortisol levels go high, and then you see the vicious cycle you find yourself in, which is why we say, please stay away from GMOs, things that have been sprayed with glyphosate, which kills your thyroid, kills your gut flora, your lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. Glyphosate is what kills it. Like, it was classified in the 1960s as an antibiotic, and those are the only 2 things it kills. So you couldn't even exercise enough. You couldn't even eat healthy enough throughout your life to get away from the effects of glyphosate if you continue to eat a bad diet. Even if you thought it was a healthy one, if it's not organic, those chemicals are getting into your body. The other thing we talked about this morning, if you're not walking, we talked about the importance of, even if you're sick, walking, because your lymph system, your feet push your blood through your cells, your feet pushes your blood through your body, your feet pushes that blood through you to cleanse you. You need your lymphatic system constantly moving. If you're sitting a lot, you don't get that. You get blood clots, you get pools of like little toxins. You have to get up and move, because your feet pressing on the earth are what pushes your blood through your body. This is why I'm saying, if you get 10,000 steps a day, that's the minimum for survival. Please get up to 20,000 steps. Hey, yes, Ania, did your, maybe she can't, she's driving. I was going to say, did your treadmill help yet? Did you get to use it yet?
Oh yeah, I got on it right away. Everybody was happy about that. It was actually more of a workout than walking outside. Like I
Good.
could feel it in my calves when I did the incline. So yeah,
Yep.
that was pretty amazing, and that was very helpful. Absolutely.
Are you using the same one that I got?
It's the same brand, and I looked actually. It inclines up to 9.
Oh, okay,
Um,
perfect.
and so it looked like it did everything that yours did, but the one, your link, it didn't deliver to California or to my address. So I had to get the closest thing to that.
And
But
it
it's the
came
same
to
brand.
Wyoming?
It was just all black. Yeah.
That's weird. Yeah, mine has an incline. I don't know what it is. It's probably not 9. But that's great that it
Well,
has.
it might have to do with I'm in like rural up in the country mountains. I'm not in the cities of California, because I've noticed that there's times when for my mom, she's in the city in San Diego, and she'll get something right away, and for me it's like not available, and we're in the same state. So
That's crazy. Leave it to the government to not find a town that they want to deliver to. I don't know. That's
right.
Well, great. I'm glad you got to use it. And that is this thing. Like this treadmill was only $159. The arms fold down so it can go under my bed. It can go under a desk. I can sit there with the arms up on it. You know, I can't run on it. It's not like my heavy duty one, but walking is way better than running because the minute you go to cardio, your body starts again triggering, oh, I got to hold on to fat. We're in a fight or flight situation. So you're always going to burn more calories if you can walk at an incline, which is nice living in Story because the whole entire town is up to the park 4 miles and then back down 4 miles. So if you know, and I would change it to be uphill both ways, but we don't have that anymore since the 80s are past. So we don't have to walk uphill both ways. I don't know how we managed when we were kids, but we did. No, I'm teasing. You know what I mean? But
Oh,
it's nice here in Story. You walk up the entire way. Go ahead, Danielle.
oh,
I saw Yesenia's hand still up. Does she have another question?
Oh no, I just wanted to mention, so like I have an Apple Watch, so I've been tracking like my movements and stuff since starting the healthy habits. And what I've noticed is when I'm cleaning, when I'm doing my chores, it's telling me I'm working out. I didn't know you burn so many calories just from doing chores. So I've actually been deep cleaning my house.
Exactly. What are we talking
The
about?
house is so clean.
Remember we talked about it last week. I said, if all you can do that first hour is clean your house, that counts as movement. In the old days, they didn't have to take a time to walk. They went out and did chores. They went out and cleaned the stall. They went out and milked the cow. They went out and hoed the field. Like they went out there and got the weeds out of the garden. If you don't like to exercise, just do something. Say, okay, I'm deep cleaning my kitchen. I set my timer on, not like today. Today we had the Zoom meeting, but usually 8 to 9, I clean my house because that gives me a time to listen to Swap Shop if I feel like it. Like, but just to do, I can turn on worship music or listen and I clean. And right there, you're getting 2,000 to 3,000 steps, sometimes more. But I mean, you just set yourself up for success. Have your kids involved in it, or have them in their, doing their school while you're walking. Every time Trey was walking, we'd set our timer at the end of every 50 minutes or at the end of an hour, whatever it was. We would jump rope 200 times and we would work out for 10 minutes. Like it's fun and it's kind of silly because then they may, oh, Mom, we got to do this again. Yeah, we get to do this again. And it's a funny thing. So Josie's doing it all. Look at her go. She's so cute. Okay, Danielle.
So I know you told me that I need to eat more carbs, and I've been eating 2 pieces of toast every morning pretty much. Should I not be doing that for carbs in the morning?
You and me are different. You and I are different. As long as you have protein with it, you need that for your body frame. But I eat the no sugar added, but now there are a lot of days I don't eat carbs. There's a lot of days I'll just make like 3 or 4 eggs with half a pint of cottage cheese. So it's not like I ate few calories those days. So every few days I do that. But like this morning, I could tell my body needed carbs. So what I did was 2 eggs and 2 pieces of the bread. And so this is what I said, everything has to be adapted for your body. Like Catherine, she ate potatoes the other morning after not eating them since that Tuesday or so, whatever. She got sick feeling immediately because her body was already detoxing. Already there was such a detox on her. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so is Ezekiel bread better? I know you think it tastes like cardboard, but is it better than white bread?
No, yeah, well, definitely better than white bread, not necessarily better than fermented bread. You get different health benefits in each. A lot of people, sadly, in America, we don't have a problem with protein or fiber. There's a lie in the industry. Oh, Americans have low protein diets. No, we have probably the highest protein diet of any nation. We just have low low quality of our food of the other foods, and we have such complex things. So we like studies show that Americans, no, almost nobody's lacking protein. Sometimes though, they eat too many fillers, and those people who are very processed in their diets, they are having a lack of the protein. But what was your actual question again, Danielle, so I can make sure I'm addressing it
I was
correctly?
asking if, because I eat Ezekiel bread.
Oh, right, okay.
And
So
I know
fiber.
that white bread isn't the healthiest because I think it turns into a sugar, but were you saying that fermented bread is best, or what would be
Yes,
best?
because the fermented bread already breaks it down in such a way where you're getting lactobacillus, a bifidobacterium, and your body absorbs it readily. So the problem with Ezekiel bread, like I said, I'm the canary in the coal mine. I can eat like one piece of Ezekiel bread maybe a day, but immediately I'm going to feel plugged and clogged because there's so much fiber in that. And even though I drink a lot of water, even though I'm super healthy and everything else, it makes me feel sluggish. So I go to the fermented bread, more of the sourdough bread, because it makes me feel better. Now, I still will eat Ezekiel bread, but for me, I do so much better with a sprouted bread that's not so dense. Now, Ezekiel bread is loaded, loaded. And so people who are, depends on your body structure and what your digestive system is, but a lot of people who eat that, you're going to feel kind of almost constipated. I'm just going to say, I know TMI, right? But that's what's going to happen sometimes with those really dense, super dense breads. Whole wheat bread doesn't make me feel like that, but I also, with my 100% whole wheat bread, I ferment it in the fridge. And so my 100% whole wheat bread, people at my store would be like, oh my gosh, this doesn't taste like whole wheat at all. And I'm like, well, I use the 100% whole wheat flour from Montana wheat called Prairie Gold, and it ferments in the fridge at least overnight, so that all of that bran and all of that germ is starting to already be digested by the microbes. Because see, once I put food in my stomach bacteria have to try to break it down. But if I've already helped that process, then my body can take those nutrients in.
Does that happen to the Ezekiel bread? Because I keep it in the fridge to keep it lasting longer. Does that happen at all with that?
No, fermentation can only take place before it's cooked. So, I mean, otherwise it just gets mold if you take it out. So mold is yuck. Fermentation is good. So if you want to make like the whole wheat bread, I don't remember the ratios right now and I can put that out there, but you want to take your whole wheat flour and it's a super high hydration. It's almost going to look like almost like a pancake mix. And then you get that super high hydration. You stick it in your fridge overnight. The gluten starts to develop, the enzymes start to break down of that thing, of the outer shell of the whole wheat bread, and then it actually is better for your body. Now, Ezekiel bread is sprouted. It's just that it's so nutrient dense that a lot of people are going to feel really plugged and yucky from it. So again, don't do the necessarily or all white bread, but you want to balance it. Rich breads, like we talked, Cass, are the worst. If you can do the lean breads, just flour, water, salt, yeast, don't add the butter, don't add the sugar, don't add the honey. The best breads for your body are flour, water, salt, yeast, those that are fermented. Where did Catherine go? She was just here. She disappeared. Okay, Nicole.
Yes, I had a question about my son. He is really good with roasted veggies, does awesome with eating chicken, but he's just gotten the habit of eating bagels, which have no nutritional value, or oatmeal, and even though it's organic, just not the best for him. And so I was wondering what would be a good, since he doesn't like eggs yet, if I could be good to make them French toast, or what ideas you have for breakfast, or if I should just start giving him something savory like leftovers from dinner. I'm just looking for some creative ideas to break him of the sugar habit with oatmeal and other things for breakfast. He's 7.
Right. And it is hard. You're gonna have to retrain him. And if he doesn't like eggs, of course, they're your biggest what we in America, what we eat for it. But try maybe a smoothie bowl. Limit the banana in it, go more berries because bananas are sugar, sugar, sugar. Lots of carbs are heavy carb load. So when with your smoothie, do maybe a little bit like try to throw in because you can do the Greek yogurt, a little bit of milk, throw in some berries, and then, tofu. I don't know if you could mask that flavor in there. Tofu is a really good source of protein. I make tofu bacon. We talked about that this morning. His gas is dying. I see her face. But I take a thing of tofu and I slice it thin like turkey bacon. And I don't know if your son would eat turkey bacon or chicken sausages, those amalu ones. That's something that you can try to do for him. Maybe start having him do like meat and cheese for breakfast. Like Costco has that meat that's not as processed, that turkey lunch meat. A cheese stick with like Greek yogurt. Maybe make even because like peanut butter and nuts don't have a lot of protein. I mean that if you look at their macronutrients, they're mostly counted as a fat. So, but what it does is it does satiate you and it does curb your hunger throughout the day. So a little bit of nuts can be good in the morning because you do a quarter cup nuts or something with yogurt, with granola. You can make a homemade granola though. I put it on, remember the menus? It's on the recipes. There's a
Mm.
sugar homemade granola on there. Even though it has oats, it's a way you can mix it with, if those oats are with protein, like if I have to have oatmeal in the morning, I eat it with eggs because I got protein on top of it. Your oats are limited. And I don't know if those are options for him.
Ooh, you just gave me an idea. So he does like turkey bacon. He loves smoothies, and I can up it with the tofu. And because he even likes tofu and stir fry, so he probably would mind it in a smoothie. And then baked oatmeal has eggs in it. So that would be a way that I could kind of get some protein into the oatmeal.
You could even do, if you can find, like they sell just plain pea protein powder. I love it because there's nothing like added anything. It's literally just peas because peas are high in protein. So if you throw a protein powder in it, really like try to reduce the amount of oats you're doing and up the other things. If you want to do like a berry oat bake, let's put in a little bit of, anything you can add with protein. Let's do it with cottage cheese, with yogurt, with eggs, and then lower the carbs. Okay, Deborah has an idea. Well, you just have to unmute yourself, sweetie, just on the bottom there. Oh, it's on the bottom. If you click on the screen, it should pop up a microphone. Just click on that. Okay, you find it. Sanine will talk in a minute. We'll come back to Nicole's. Guys, good ideas for her too, that you have other ideas. So I'll take Sanine's question while Deborah's finding hers. I think she had an idea for
Thank
Nicole.
you.
But
Okay. Kefir. What are your thoughts on kefir? Because I know you've been mentioning Greek yogurt a lot. So I used to make my own yogurt, but then the kefir is just so much more easy because it just
That's
sits
fine.
and ferments. But I do use a whole milk, organic whole milk when I make it. So
as long as you don't
Is
add
it-
sugar to it. The one
Yeah,
thing
no.
is most kefir is so bitter for most people that they add so much sugar. And that's where we get a problem because it's like, oh, we're having a yogurt drink, but it's like 18 grams sugar. So yeah, as long as your kefir is fine, it's just like a yogurt. It's just a little more one step liquidier and a little bit more fermented. It's a little bit more acidic by nature. So you can definitely do that.
Okay. And then for Josie, she has a ton of energy. So it's like I would say she has like your level of energy. She's like a ever ready bunny rabbit. She
They
just
called me the
goes,
Energizer Bunny all
yes,
the time.
the Energizer bunny. But so what what would her like
Again, well, as much
high
as you can get, as much as you can get her in the morning to start protein, it's still going to
Okay.
keep her at homeostasis level. And then don't introduce the carbs again to like 10, 30, 11 with her if possible. Or if she's like me, every once in a while, I need a carb in the morning. So I'll eat like that fermented bread with eggs. I'm not going to just eat bread without the eggs or some protein. Everybody's body is so different. If she's going to have that runner build, if she's going to have that, but what works for one person, it's not like a catch-all formula, right? You know what I mean? Okay, Deborah, she got her hand up.
Yeah, would the overnight oats, doing oats that way, be a little bit better than just taking it straight out and making it straight in the morning? Just like, I think it's like a 12-hour process or so in the fridge that you
And the only way that would be better is if you use the whole oat groats. The whole oat groats are like whole wheat. If you're
Okay.
eating rolled oats, flaked oats, a big old thing of snow just fell off. All these, if you eat just like the processed oats, the problem is it's just like eating white flour. And
Okay.
so if you, oats are good, I mean, they're good for you, but
Right.
it's better if they're a whole oat groat. And then those are really hard, just like hard wheat is. And that's why in current life, a lot of people don't eat the whole grain. They go back to the process because they like it better.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so I think, does anybody have any other suggestions they do to keep the protein high in the morning for Nicole? Any things you do? Because my go-tos for me are the cottage cheese, the Greek yogurt, the turkey bacon for Jim, his amylou sausages, his eggs, stuff like that. Morgan.
One thing my young kids like is one slice of whole wheat toast with eggs and cheese on top of it.
Yep, that's a
And
good
then
one.
sometimes they like avocado with the egg on top of it too.
Yep, absolutely. And if you can do any of the soft cheeses are going to have little bit better protein for you than the hard cheeses. So anytime you can get to that home, the cottage cheese, the Greek yogurt like that with it, it's going to be great. And yeah, because the kids are going to need more bread than an adult. Kids are growing and their metabolism is so high. But what you don't want, what a lot of families, what do? They would give them a bowl of sugary cereal or just feed them with sugar toast. That's what my mom used to do. Let's have some sugar toast for breakfast. Okay, that's bright. Let's do like, you know what I mean? Let's just have like bread and nothing else. Okay, that's going to be a nightmare. And if your kids are acting up that day, you know why? They had blood sugar problems because it was straight bread. And so this is what we have to, because we did. I mean, that's what you did growing up. You'd think about it. We all went to school. We weren't homeschooled, most of us. We're getting to the generation, thank God, now that they have been homeschooled. But you know what I'm saying? You just grabbed crap. You grabbed a protein bar that was a protein. It was like 99 grams, 1,000 grams sugar and 2 grams protein. Yeah, that was healthy. You know what I mean? They lied to us, the gimmicky, and they say healthy protein bar. It's not protein. It's not that. You know what I mean? So I think that's a great idea, Morgan. And my mom always did. This was one thing she did do well. We had the bread with mustard cheese because I like that. And then you could have eggs. But no sweetheart bread. No. Yes, Ania.
I have a recipe that I'll share in the messenger for Nicole. It's a low carb bagel recipe.
Yes.
It's made out of cottage cheese and it's really good. So I mean, something like for me, I like to have like that, like just one half of a bagel
Mhm.
with cream cheese, sliced tomato, and jalapenos, and that is like so delicious for me.
Yep.
So I'll share it in the chat though.
Yes, and I was just going to post a high protein, low carb biscuit recipe in a minute. And again, it's made with almond flour and eggs and cottage cheese and whatnot. And I made those cloud buns yesterday. Did you guys see that recipe on there? Those are amazing. I even had one because it just looks so good. They were for my husband, but I wanted to try one. So Nicole, I don't doubt he would like those because it's 3 eggs separated with a 1/4 cup cottage cheese, 1 teaspoon honey for all of it, a 1/4 teaspoon salt, a little bit of organic vinegar, and you whip it. You whip the egg whites with the vinegar, and then you mix the cottage cheese, the egg yolks with salt and the honey, and then you slowly fold that into the eggs, and you put it on a pan. You bake it at 300 degrees for 25 minutes. It was amazing. It actually tasted really good, so that's a great breakfast item. Thank you for reminding me of that because my mind went blank there, Yesenia. That, and because I was going to do that biscuit recipe tonight for my husband, and then that's a great thing to do because you're getting something to hold it. The other thing is if kids don't like eggs, sometimes if you kind of like make an omelet, sometimes they'll eat it because you get enough filling in it. Because I'll do like a really thin omelet every morning. You cook it over medium low heat, make sure your oil's hot, put your eggs in, you just let it cook through, put your fillings on one side, fold it over. Kids often will eat an omelet because you can smother it in cheese or cream cheese. Azure Standard has the most amazing cream cheese. It's an old style cream cheese, not the Organic Valley one. I love it. You mix it with cream sauce. So there are lots of ways to, Morgan, she just tried hollandaise last week, but my family eats a lot of not a lot. We eat hollandaise sauce. That's another good way to put protein on it, because if they have that sauce over things, it's really good. Maybe make him some almond flour biscuits with, so some almond flour biscuits with sausages or something like that, like a little, and I'll put that biscuit recipe out later, but even though any kind of bread thing with almond flour, like a breakfast pizza, do like almond flour crust with cheese and turkey bacon and chicken sausage or stuff like that.
Thank you. I love these ideas. And I know he likes like a sausage sandwich. So I think like a turkey sausage or turkey bacon on one of those cloud breads or one of those bagels. Thank you, Yesenia, too. That sounds really good.
Yeah, and Yesenia, I can't wait to see that, because I know there's so many good ones of those. There's are a lot of low carb. People are smart. We've all been wanting to do low carbs. So, Kimberly, what are you drinking? Coffee or hot tea?
Coffee at the moment.
Okay, I saw haze for a little bit too. I was like, oh, how cute.
Yeah, this weather is crazy. My first big storm. I was like, wow, it's just
Well, we had a couple weeks ago. March is when we get our biggest snowfall amounts. I like it.
But I was gonna say that I found because I hate yogurt. I wouldn't say hate. I strongly dislike yogurt, like especially with fruit. But I found if I put it on top of broccoli or made a sauce out of it, or even on my potatoes, which I know I'm not supposed to be eating, it's
Well,
really
you can
delicious.
eat potatoes. You have 200 grams of carbs a day. So look at your potato, see how many carbs it has here. What was that carb load? Here, let me look really fast. Hold on here. I'll look at my
Not the
little
way potatoes.
What?
Not the way I've been eating potatoes. I've been eating them like all day, every day.
Well, that's probably not right. But so I'll tell you what the carb load is. I'm making a spreadsheet for you guys, an Excel spreadsheet, so we can just plug everything. Oh, shooters. That's the wrong one. Let me look. It's right here. Excel. Where's the Excel?
For people wanting to gain weight, I used to be super, super skinny, like crazy skinny, malnourished kind of skinny. And I found drinking heavy cream in my coffee and stuff like that is beneficial for that. But I just didn't know how to stop. So I kept getting fatter and fatter. So you got to make sure you don't keep going. Like my best friend.
Kimberly makes this every Sabbath very interesting. We're laughing the entire Sabbath because everything she says is hilarious. So if you ever want to move to Wyoming, you'll be entertained every Sabbath. It's cute. So you're right. A little bit, don't overdo it. And that's what happens. And the potatoes have, for just like 119 grams of potato, which I'm assuming is like a half a potato, is 27 grams carb. So if you eat a whole potato, you're going to get, it depends. You got to weigh it out. So you just have to really make sure you watch what you're doing, and you have to make a commitment. Like we talked earlier today, healthy doesn't happen. Spiritual healthy doesn't happen. It's an uphill battle. Physical healthy doesn't happen. It's an uphill battle. There has to be a commitment. There has to be a choice. One of the false foods that people think are super healthy. Well, okay, so they're healthy if you cook beans. Beans are healthy, but they're high carbs. So if you're going to eat beans, you got to make sure you counter that then with maybe cutting out your bread the next meal, right? Does anybody else have any questions with that? Again, the almond flour is pretty good. Almond flour has 5 grams of carbs per serving versus what we usually get 22 to 26 grams carbs per serving. So almond flour is a good alternative. It helps. Yes, Cassandra.
I was just gonna give some, I don't know, maybe advice for Kim. I also don't like yogurt. Like regular, like runny yogurt. I don't like yogurt. It's gross to me. It feels like phlegm in your mouth. But I will tolerate Greek yogurt, and I've been putting a little bit of honey on top of it, not fruit, because I also am not a big fan of yogurt or fruit, but Greek yogurt because it's like thicker, it's like not runny, and with a little bit of honey, and that has actually helped a lot. I've been able to take that.
Right, and you can do Greek yogurt with salt, garlic, and pepper, and like salt, garlic powder, and make it like a, no, it's like a ranch. Tell your brain it's a ranch. It's a high protein ranch. You can throw that in and make an egg salad sandwich or a tuna sandwich for lunch or a chicken salad for lunch, and it's really good actually. So you can do that on like a lettuce leaf. Spinach, make a spinach salad for breakfast and put like this like tuna salad on it, or egg salad. For me, it would be egg salad, but it's Greek yogurt. You can put a little bit of vinegar in there or pickle juice. Your brain really starts to get used to that as ranch. So you take your yogurt, a little bit of pickle juice, salt, pepper, garlic, and you've got a great sauce. It's very similar. You can put seed in, I'm sorry, dill weed in it. It has the green flakes. Your brain will be tricked. You're like, oh, this is such a good ranch. And you just think of it as ranch or something, and then you eat that. And so it's not that we're trying to get all your carbs out completely too. Remember, you have choices in this. And so you can pick, oh, and I'm going to do just a macro. I want to do a macro calendar today. I keep saying that and I keep getting interrupted, but it's okay with other things to do. But I want you to be able to pick this many. Here's your proteins. Pick a protein. Pick 5 proteins today. Here's your protein chart and pick 5 of them today. Here's your carbs, pick 5. And I did actually do that last week. I put out like, here's your macros for foods. Here's your fats, here's your carbs, here's your thing. But I want to do a calendar. So this week, here's your 10 proteins to choose from. Here's some carbs to choose from. And then you count them. You're like, okay, this is my choice. If I can pick this many carbs today. What do I want to use them on? You know what I mean? Okay, Danielle.
Since you and I are on the same kind of thing, we both need a lot more carbs. How many, like, I guess, grams of carbs, or what are you going to call it? How many carbs should I eat?
So you're probably going to be 300 to 400 grams carbs, depending on your energy output. Like most people have it, we're trying to get them up to 200 grams of carbs a day. But for me, I'm going to say 300, 300 or more, depending. If I'm going to go on a run or something like a big run, then I'm going to sometimes have more, but it's whole wheat or fermented, it's healthy, very few simple sugars, but I do allow myself those 2 little coconut bites a day. They're 2 little chocolate things from Costco. It's organic, and it's not, you don't have to miss all your favorite foods. You have to factor in and allow for it. You don't get this diet plus your favorite foods. You get your favorite foods in limited quantities, and then a lot, because you got to think about it, like you only get so many carbs a day. You really start savoring your food, and you're like, and then I honestly tell you, if you can detox from the sugars, you will not even want to eat anymore. Your cravings go away. That obsession, that control of food over you goes away, and then you just eat to survive. Make yourself eat, and you look at your macros. You're like, okay, it's time to eat. I got to eat. Your desire for food, like Jim has never not felt hungry in his entire life until these 2 weeks. He said, and he's 52. He's like, I have never not felt hungry my entire life. I no longer feel hunger. I no longer crave food. He goes, it's just, I have no appetite. He goes, I'm just satisfied. He said, so that's one thing that this does. It cleanses your body, cleanses your palate to where now you're eating to survive. Sanine.
Okay. Also, I was wondering if you had like a good source of Parmesan cheese. We love Parmesan cheese. I don't know if it's
Cass
good,
gets
but
the one from Costco. And she called the company, and it's not labeled organic, but apparently they do it organically and kosher.
okay.
I use the Parmesan cheese, just Organic Valley, because they don't use any pork in it. It's all organic.
And is it already like shredded Parmesan, or is it like whole?
Yeah. And I think Azure Standard has a non-shredded Parmesan, but a lot of people don't like the flavor. They're saying it's too much like mozzarella, but it
Okay.
is organic, it is kosher, and they're saying some people really love it, and some people are like, well, it doesn't have the flavor that they want, but it is a Parmesan, and it is on Azure Standard.
Okay. If anybody has if anybody's doing an order from the group, or if they have a way of like posting what it looks like, so that when I do my
I
order,
could I'll just do it right now. Okay.
okay, thank you.
Sure. I'll just put in the over the chat over here, Sanine. Can you see that, or maybe not?
I'm on my phone, so I can't really
Okay.
see what it looks like.
Here's the wedge. It's and it's Rumiano, and
Okay.
they're
I like the Rumiano.
they're from California. So let me share. I'll just share that link. Go ahead, Cass. I'm just
Okay.
sharing this while
Thank you.
So you know how I make a lot of just about everything I eat from scratch.
Yes.
I have no way of knowing how much of what is in that because I made it from scratch.
Well, you
Not
do.
like
You can
prepackaged.
You can kind of, I make everything from scratch. I always have too. You calculate, you just look at it and you're measuring out by cups. So when I give you, you have to start weighing it or look at how much a gram is. So when I'm over, sorry, I'm just typing in at the same time. Anyone who wants Parmesan. There we go. Sorry, Parmesan. Okay, there. Back to you. I can't see you. So when I'm cooking from scratch, I cook by weight, I bake by weight. And so then you just kind of know. So like yesterday, I didn't actually measure out a 1/4 cup cottage cheese, but I already know like a 1/4 cup cottage cheese is going to have like 12.5, 13 grams protein. So you just have to study your macros like crazy. So you're like, okay, I just put a cup of flour in. Okay, I just put like 100 and some grams carbs in this bread, or like I'm doing pasta, right? You have to just start to look at your portions, because even if you're cooking from scratch, you can look at, okay, this is a 4-ounce serving. And on one of the charts I gave you guys on the Healthy Habits thing, there's a chart and it shows you how to just kind of quickly look. You can look at your hand size. Well, Cass has little hands, but you may have to go a little bigger, but you're like, she's a fighter though. But there's a way to kind of gauge by your hands, like the different meat cuts. And so you're going to have to start just thinking it through. The other thing is you can seriously just measure out for the next time you get a little scale. I cook, but I have a food scale. And so measure on there, okay, what is it? Or look at the package. If let's say you're making bread and look at another package of bread and it says a piece of bread usually has 22 to 26 gram carbs. Okay. So slice your bread, weigh out the 1 ounce, because you know it's a 1 ounce serving, and then say, okay, I know this is about 22 grams of carbs. And so you can figure it out. I used to have to see, because I had the restaurant and the bakery, I had to literally weigh everything out, pencil everything out, know how much I was using in every single thing, not only for the macros, but for the cost. And so I'm very used to weighing food and measuring everything, even though when I cook, I don't cook by measure. You have to cook by feel. But like, so when I'm cooking gravies, let's swap out the starches and the flour, and let's just make a cream cheese cream gravy, right? Cream cheese, all of a sudden my fats are there, some protein, a little bit of protein in it, but we got the cheese, and I didn't have the carb load because there's almost no carbs in that. So it's just, it's going to take time. And when you bake, it's a lot easier. At my bakery, and the way most cooks cook, people cook, I can bake by scratch, but because I had to have a consistent quantity or product for every single person who came in my restaurant to have the exact same flavor when they ordered it over and over and over, and I had to weigh it out to the ounce. And so that came natural for me. Cooking, I'm like Cass, I'm going to look at quantities, but at the same point, when I know it's vegetables, they're pretty much free carbs. They hardly have any carb load, and there's so much fiber. If I'm eating load up, what should be the basis of our diets? Not carbs, but vegetables and fruit. If you look at the Bible, they very little meat. Very little meat. What did they do? They ate meat like once a week, if that. They slaughtered an animal, but they eat the animal products in the form of eggs and cheese and milk. Those animal products are staples with the fruits and vegetables. Then beyond that, let's add in some carbs. It was hard to grind grain. It was hard to go harvest it. They didn't eat bread like we do today. And if they did, they sprouted it, they fermented it, they let the grain soak, and then maybe smashed it down sometimes. But it's a lot of work to grind grain, a lot of work. And so the flour mills became a good thing for people, because they could just have somebody else grind it, because that's your biggest job when you have wheat. And it's hard to grow for most farmers. You can grow a small plot, but you're only going to get from 1 acre of wheat, in most cases, you're going to get 7 to 15 bushels of wheat. That's what they ate, guys. I mean, people didn't live like we do now. The calorie consumption in the 1950s and earlier, they say we eat twice as many calories almost in most cases than they did. We eat so many calories in America now. We're so obsessed with calories. But they were so active and healthy, and nothing was genetically modified, nothing was processed. So the thing is we have grown in size, so we do need more calories. So that respect we understand. At the same point, like women 20 years ago, we were told to have 1,500 calories a day. 1,500 calories a day should take the moderate woman who's slight in frame usually through the day if they're not overactive. The actual housewife, the farm wife, they aren't out there running, they're not out doing the extra expenditures. 1,500 calories should have sustained them. Now we've got bigger bone structure, bigger everything. So let's say, okay, let's push the woman's diet intake up to 2,000 calories, okay? And every bone frame is different. Everybody is different. Like Catherine, we're shooting for 2,000 calories a day with 150 grams protein, 65 to 70 grams fat, and the 200 grams carbs. But everybody's needs are going to be so different. Does this all make sense?
Well, my question would be then because I can measure it out. I have a food scale and I measure everything out, not by a scale, usually just by like cups and teaspoons or whatever. But what I can look at all like the flour, the salt, the eggs, and whatever gets added to what I'm making. Does that like the grams change, a percentage change from raw ingredients to baked?
No, not that I have found. I mean, you do alter well, because eggs are always going to be cooked. Protein almost in general should always be cooked when consumed, right? Protein sources in general, except for dairy. And so when you look at like eggs, you eat them cooked when you eat them. But I've never seen anybody indicate in any of the studies I've looked at, and I could be wrong, I've never seen them say, well, the protein, once you cook an egg, it loses a gram of protein. I haven't seen that. And when you do make your breads and stuff, it's really cool to experiment with these interesting breads where let's do an egg bread. Let's do one with some almond flour, or let's do a little bit of whole wheat, but with that whole wheat that's fermented. Now let me fold in some egg whites or something, like experiment with this process and really get your focus on it, because we don't want to get rid of breads altogether. We don't want to get rid of the grain group. We need to put them in check. And people don't realize 200 grams of carbs comes really quick. Really quick. And you know, we had unhealthy periods in history where people didn't live long, and it was because the last time farming was successful and we see the first really big wave of people other than in the Bible times before you know Jacob, what we saw was around the 1915 to 1919 time frame. That's when farming was the most lucrative, and it was right before big ag took over. It was right before World War I. And what we see is those people, a lot of them were living to 85 to 100 some years old, because there were no more pioneers. They didn't have those dangers. They didn't have the wars until the World War. There were so many things that allowed them to simply grow their food and eat. And most families had a 5 to 10 acre farm, and everybody worked together. You didn't have big 1,000-acre farms, and they grew what they needed. Therefore, we can clearly show they weren't eating a lot of wheat. They had the cereal grains, but it wasn't as much as what we're thinking, because they didn't have the space for it. So, but sometimes one person did have more space and they would do it, but it's so much manpower to grow wheat. I mean, if you know what you're doing, you grow it, you do it. But they were focusing a lot on the animal sources of meat, milk, eggs. I'm sorry, not meat, milk, cheese, eggs, and the veggies they could grow. Because the people, like, think about the people who survived the Depression. They had those things, and they had a lot of green beans. The people in the Depression focused on crops like green beans, potatoes, carrots, the things with high nutrient density that were healthy. You can't grow grains real easy. It's really difficult to grow grains. So they grow them, but not in like what we're thinking today. And it's nice in certain climates, like even in Israel, they just have barley growing wild. Barley and oats grow easily. And if you eat the oats with the whole oat groat, that's wonderful. That's like whole wheat flour. But 99% of Americans don't do that. We've got it processed already. And so I hope that makes sense. Sorry for the yawn. And so Cass, what I would do with you, especially because you're kind of new to this, I would take the time to learn for a couple of weeks, and it might be annoying. You might have to skip a few meals. And sometimes you might just say, I'm just cheating. Mel said I could have this much, this much, this much, this, combine it, this. And I have that quick chart already on the Healthy Habits group. I could send it to our local fellowship. because I did make a quick cheat sheet last week, and I realized there was one error on it. And I gotta change that, but it's just a quick glance, like, okay, so how many grams of protein am I getting from this chicken? How many carbs, whatever. And then it's a quick look over, and then I'm doing an Excel spreadsheet with a more intent one. So, and that is why I don't have the menu done yet, because my obsessive brain was like, I think I can get this whole macro sheet done, this 18-page macro sheet done. No, it's like, oh, should have just focused on the menu. But the Lord's like, they got 2 a la carte menus. That's a lot of variety right there, even to choose from. So, but and I got you have the other menus as well. You have like so many menus out right now. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
It would be nice for me to actually calculate all of that for it's particularly the breads that I make. I need to learn how to ferment bread, make sourdoughs. That
It's
I don't
super
know how to
easy.
do.
Well, now sourdough we'll all start together after Passover. I want to start the sourdough, go through that with the video. Because it's a really good thing, and it only takes about 6 to 9 days to get that fermented on your counter, depending on how hot your house is. But the sourdough breads are fantastic, and you just literally any of your breads right now you're making, let it sit at least 24 hours in the fridge. Cover it, put a tiny bit of oil in it, put a little bit of plastic wrap on it, and then bring it out to room temperature. So bring it out about 2 hours when you want to, okay, or make your oven a proofing oven. Make sure Gil and Danielle won't touch the oven. Turn your oven on for 4 minutes, turn it off, put your bread in there it'll puff up and get to that, then form it and let it do the double rise.
Okay, so any dough that I make, I can make it the day before and ferment in the fridge. I thought
My
that only
cinnamon-
was sourdough.
My cinnamon rolls that the gas stations in town sells, that people at my bakery, that everybody loved them. They were like, "How do you get that flavor?" It was so good. I had people from New York say, "This is the best cinnamon roll I've ever had." You know, however the New York people talk, it's because the fermentation and the organic ingredients. So you mix the dough, let it sit for 24 hours. My cinnamon rolls, I would go up to 3 days. After that, no, it starts to get really sour. But that lean French bread, if you're doing flour, water, salt, yeast, you can go up sometimes to 5 days. But it's going to get fermented flavor then. Just remember that. Serve it with rye and pickle. You know, you got to have some. Morgan. Oh, I see
I was
her.
gonna say, Kat, what I do is every recipe that I use the majority of, I will go through one time as I make it, measure things out. Like, so if it's like 6 cups of flour, I'll measure out 6 cups, see how many grams that is, and then I multiply it out by how many calories, how much, protein, how many carbs, everything like that. And then I just write all that on my sheet, and then I divide it by how many servings I normally get. So like my loaf of bread, I'll cut and see how many pieces I normally get. So that way you can just, if you grab out one piece, okay, it's about this much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of doing for all, particularly like the breads and stuff that I'm making. I should probably start writing that down, calculating that.
Exactly. And that's a good way to do it too. And that's kind of what I did for my restaurant. Now, again, I'm going to have the cheat sheets for you where it's because most people aren't going to. That's why, look, we have 40 some members on or whatever it is on the healthy habits, but those are only a few who committed to the who are going to want to do this like this. Everybody else needs it super simple, super easy. Just I need to understand something quickly, help me get it done. And I get that. That's why I give you all those other things. But I was realizing some of you are interested because wasn't even going to go into the macros with some of you unless I saw the need. But I see the need. I see it. Nicole can understand. I see you guys can understand. It's like you guys are beyond the just wanting to eat healthy and cutting sugars. Because even if people just follow the plan, like for the basic people, and they just get their 10 to 20,000 steps a day and cut out the sugars, they're going to see results. And if you see results, just post testimonials or send me testimonials because I'll post them because it helps my plate. Like I'm trying to get, this is what I'm trying to do because for my little thing. And so if you have testimonials, if you've seen results, I would love to hear from you because then I can share that and try to encourage more people to join. My daughter-in-law saw results immediately. And I'm under the little stinker. I wonder why she got off. I'm going to ask her why, but who knows? Maybe James was crying. My most beautiful grandson in the world. But so my point is, like my husband, his results are astounding. Less than 3 weeks, 21 pounds down. And Kim Melema, since Sabbath to today, 4 pounds down. Praise Yah. Like, that's great. I'm not losing weight. If I do, it was so funny. Somebody tried to insult me today. He goes, "You don't look healthy." And I was like thinking, like, he's right. I've had so much spiritual attack and stress this last 2 weeks that I do. And Jim even goes, "Yeah, you look pretty worn out." I'm like, "Yeah, it's been a couple rough days, but it's okay." Because last night we had the intervention, and all day Sunday was from the time I woke up until bed, it was just helping everybody fight these big spiritual battles. And then last week, and so I'm like, done. Done. And I do look not healthy, but I'm like, I am healthy. So I just told him, I said, "You should try this." I should have said, "I'm stressed right now, but this isn't how I normally look." I didn't. I just said, "It's okay." I said, "I understand a lot of people are used to processed food people." I said, "People who have been raised on processed food, you don't look healthy anymore." You guys, the average size of a woman was like women back in the day, like where they were size 2 and 4, and not the modern size 2 and 4 that has stretched to accommodate that. People were so tiny in the days, not from starvation, not from restriction of calories, but from being healthy. From being healthy. And so we're so used to everybody looking a little plumper now. And like my husband's always said, and I've always had men tell me, I feel self-conscious, but I've always had people tell me I don't look emaciated. They're like, "You don't look too skinny." But I get self-conscious because I see these pictures of these people with bony bones and elbow, and I'm like, "Do I look like that?" And so I feel self-conscious because people say I'm thin and Jim's, and I've had a lot of people tell me no. But nobody wants a skeleton, right? And I don't feel like I look like a skeleton, but I sometimes do start worrying that I look like a skeleton. And I think that all of us have to remember this. We can beat ourselves up and be critics. We just want to be healthy. So we might not go back to the 1920s version of the actual body size that was raised on farm food that was actually healthy. We might have to have an adaptation right now. We have to be healthy where we are, but we just need to be healthy. It is crazy. Like, you look at pictures from people from the 1970s, 1960s, 1950s, 1930s, I skipped 40s, 30s, 20s. It's way different body builds, way different. You didn't have the frames we do now because nobody had processed genetically modified food. There's a huge something bad that's happened. Danielle,
Can you please describe what ingredients are in hollandaise sauce?
eggs, butter, vinegar, or lemon juice, and then salt and paprika. And if you want, I use the one from Food Network. That's what I always do. I like that one the best. It's the one I sent Morgan the other day when she was asking. I love it because you poach your eggs. You can make the low carb the like dinner rolls or biscuits or something, or egg muffins. I don't know if they have a low carb one. I'll look. But you know what I'm saying? Just put it on something low carb. Put those cloud buns that I did yesterday. You've got a great high protein, low carb food. Right, Josie? Josie's just moving and a wiggling. She's my girl. I never stop. Okay. Anybody else have anything? I know it's went a little longer than we were supposed to, but it's okay. I like seeing people healthy. Kim, you have any questions, hon? Are you going to be healthy? Are we going to see you slim and trim at Sabbath and we're not even going to recognize you because you liquefied?
Not that fast. I don't know about you, but my metabolism has slowed down quite a bit. I used to, when I was a little bit ago, I was like, man, I used to be able to eat whatever I wanted and it'd be fine. And now I just eat a little bit and I'm like, wow, I'm fat.
That happened to me when I was in my 40s. When I all of a sudden, I am just going to be 50 this year, but in my 40s was the first time I realized, oh, I can't eat an entire half pan of cookies. My metabolism is so fast, but I always ate organic. So that's the thing that I also, though, had that I did have a clean diet and I didn't eat a ton of sugar, but I could eat it. I felt nothing until 41, something like that, 40 in that time frame there. And then I'm like, okay, I gotta do something. I gotta make sure I'm choosing. I mean, I was always healthy. I didn't eat a lot of sugar. That's just not my craving. That's not my thing. But I would make chocolate chip cookies, and those were mine. So, Danielle.
So I know that you said that you have a la carte menus.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who all or how that applies, but can we pay you to like do a specific a la carte menu for each individual? Like, can that be something that we order from you?
Well, I don't know. I hadn't thought of that, but I do now. And I mean, whatever, here. I told the local fellowship is a little different because, but I do personal plans. Like, you know, I do have the different levels for those of you just kind of watching. I have the beginner level, the medium level, and then the higher level where you do get the one-on-one. But at the same point, I honestly, if you look at the charts, the a la carte ones, it's pretty broad. It gives you a lot of choices. There's a vegetarian option, there's a meat option, there's so I mean, and I can show the group if anybody's interested in some of those, because the menus that I make normal, like the normal family kind of menus, would Danielle could probably just eat those just fine, and you'd be getting a lot of help. I'm gonna, like I said, today my goal is to get a menu focusing on 30, 30, 40. I put out the sample one yesterday on the, but I don't know if I sent that to you guys, but it was on the Patreon, so I don't know. That makes sense. But yeah, we can go through things. You can always ask questions, and we just help each other. Like some people, if you eat a lot of meat, that's going to be so expensive. So you're going to have to focus on the cheaper options. But, and this is the problem with America. We focused on cheap food versus healthy. So we started growing the grains like crazy and the corns like crazy because it was cheap. So we fed the Americans calories, not nutrition. And all of a sudden we got ourselves in a problem, and people forget, they start thinking of cheap food. Well, there's really no such thing as cheap food. In the end, if you eat the cheap complex carbs, you're eating more food throughout the day. If you feed your children more protein, and you're going to eat less. Like that family that switched to organic and started doing this stuff from my store, they started eating less. The more nutrient dense food you eat, you actually start eating less. So it ends up balancing out. But it's expensive, and you got to figure out how to do it. Because meat is expensive, I should say. So focusing on what can I do in what ways, hunting, fishing, eggs, you know. Okay, well, I love you guys. And if you have questions, let me know, and I'll be seeing you. I'll be getting those menus out here in another option for menus. There's a lot on there. So you already have menus, but I'll be doing another one here soon. Okay, love you. Go wiggle your butt, Josie. Go wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Get the wiggles out. I didn't mean just your butt. I meant the whole body. I was trying to say like wiggle your butt like I used to do the first graders. Wiggle, 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 wiggle your butt, wiggle your tushy. Okay, love you guys.
Love you. Thank you.
Bye.